And you can map this once you got this clear. And he's not the only one to have this kind of perception, at least not now he isn't. But once you've got this idea clear, you can run it backwards. And this is his point. You can see that money has only ever been bookkeeping, but the further you go back, the clumsier it gets. You know, you have to move gold around. You have to have cows. You have to have cowrie shells. You have to have all sorts of stuff, right, in order to do your bookkeeping. But all that stuff was just a way of doing bookkeeping. You kind of move your herd. You know, if you're going to get married, you bring your herd of cows your father gave you if you're the woman, and you give them to the husband. It's a silly example, but that your wealth is in cows. This is where fee comes from. Fee is the German for animal, and so fee is, you know, you have such good fun with finance because if you look for the etymology, so you had to bring your herd of cows to your wedding, right? Now you just bring a checkbook or whatever, or what, you know. Or similarly, if you come to the gold story, at the time when Steiner and Keynes were speaking, this is critical, gold was by specie flow. You know, countries moved gold between themselves to balance out their trade differentials. And that was done physically in ships. Then they got to the point in Fort Knox. Okay, let's leave it all in Fort Knox. But Italy had a room, France had a room, and people had all their gold on pallets. And those guys with forklifts moving it from Italy to France every day. And then one day they thought, okay, let's just I'm inventing it slightly. Let's put it all in one big warehouse, and let's have little Italy notices and France, and we just move these notices and leave the gold where it is. And, you know, and then when you get to this point, you could say, okay, the gold just never moves. The entitlement to the gold is just changing. And this went on for a long time, even in 1960 something or other, when de Gaulle lost all confidence in the financial, he demanded French gold be shipped back to France. You know, this is, no, you can't do that. It doesn't work like that anymore, right? But anyway, that's what he wanted. And so even now, you will find, because we haven't got away from gold, that things get really tight. People want their gold back, or they acquire gold. And you can watch the gold market as a reflection of people's lack of confidence and so on. But gold is not, you know, they want it because somehow it's going back to a starting point in economic life. It's not really for the lust. You have to manage all this stuff, but it's not the lust of gold they want. They want a starting place in their economy, which they can then grow away from again, but also come back to it. And I put this up. This color is pretending to be gold, because that's what has, you know, our gold has to be replaced by consciousness. Is the big story, right? Until we can replace it by our consciousness, we cannot get rid of it. This is why I wrote this book about Beyond Gold. And the book about Beyond Gold is just saying, if Keynes, on the one hand, he got as far as understanding bookkeeping money, which is the money created by banks. If you get into that discussion about how banks multiply the amount of money available, it's called bookkeeping money. This he understood. He also understood bookkeeping from being in business. Hayek, on the other hand, he had an understanding of bookkeeping, but not from being in business. And so both of them got to a kind of point where in my argument and in my image, if they'd met Steiner, or at least met his idea that money is bookkeeping, they would have both come to a point, oh, so we're in fact in agreement. And then the whole of human history would have changed, and would now change if we could reconstruct that moment. Because at that point, your closing entries, your consciousness of your accounts wipes out the need for gold. But until you get there, we're still hooked on the gold system, on gold. It's how it is. But you know, if I give another example of gold in bookkeeping terms, if you go back to the Renaissance, the first Renaissance at least, you know, it was a great achievement of the bankers, the merchant bankers, to realize, well, we could, you know, if we got the Lombard family or something like this, we could send a brother to Frankfurt and another one to London, and within the Blood family, we can just keep all the gold in Florence and send a little letter that the robbers on the street will not want, or what Seer won't understand. And so through the Blood family, And you can get into Rothschilds and all sorts of these dynastic financial family banks, right? That's how they work. So now the gold stays here, and we just have a note to my brother in England, you've got a ton of gold in Florence, and you do what you want with it. Just let us know who you're giving it to or who it belongs to. Or you can go and lend your gold. Once you've got that set up, then you have a vault for it, then I'm going to come and lend my gold to you when I'm not needing it. And now we have fun because all I need to know is there when I come and see it. But of course, you're going to lend it out when I'm not in town. This is obvious. And so you have a whole leverage beginning, and the whole fractional reserve system starts to arise, totally dependent on bookkeeping. You know, and the goal is there as a kind of, okay, we collapse back to this if need be. So you can get into many things about this. The idea of money as bookkeeping is simply you can run it backwards in history, and it just explains how clumsy bookkeeping had to be before we got to this point of self-consciousness. Then it can become just consciousness that we share. That's a whole other story. When you come to the second Renaissance, as I said with Max Weber, by then everyone should have learned or be taught in school the system about double entry bookkeeping on which the Renaissance was based. It wasn't there, but if we bring it back in place, this is also necessary starting in high school. And if that's the case, then you can also say money will always be bookkeeping going forwards. This is not contradicting my other stuff about don't cast your theory back and forwards. But if money has only ever been bookkeeping and can only ever be bookkeeping, it will be bookkeeping into the future, and it will be bookkeeping anywhere in the world. So the fact I'm Chinese or Russian or Israeli or Australian is, you know, the bookkeeping is constant. And you can't talk about Australian bookkeeping or Israeli bookkeeping or British bookkeeping. It doesn't exist. And I could even say a story in there, which I won't spend too much time on. In order to get to the international standards, we had to bring together all the main accounting systems of the world and create one accounting system out of them, which then becomes adopted internationally. Adopted, they're called internationally. In the background, they're actually mainly derived from Britain, but that has to do with our trading knowledge and so on and where the markets are. But it's not called British, it's called international, meaning everyone's now adopted this and they don't experience it as British. So this is the world we're in. And now I want to say on that ground of money as bookkeeping from Rudolf Steiner, today it's not rocket science. I want to be really clear about it. It really is not rocket science to say this today. There's a whole literature out there about this kind of thing. But 100 years ago, it was a very important consideration. And it's how you get away from gold, which was the problem of the time at the end of the First World War. And now, if you accept this story and now you look at this image, he then says, I'm just giving you the essence of what he says, not how he gets there. I already mentioned earlier that if you come into this situation of you have all these private economies and you have the nation state economies and you arrive in a single world economy where there's nothing to trade with and everything has to fold in on itself. The example there would be that the balance of trade has nowhere to go. You're not trading with anyone, so there's no balance of payments. And that then turns inside. And when it turns inside out, you arrive at what Steiner calls three kinds of money. I would just say they're the three functions of money, more qualitatively understood. But there are still only three kinds or three qualities. So, so here we've got three things, and now we've got three kinds of money. And he names these. You already said previously. The one that is known as means of exchange in accounts, in economics, is what he calls purchase money, the money you buy and sell things with. The money on your balance, what here I'm showing it on the balance sheet, this is loan money, and loan money is not ever loans. There's a big problem when you read Steiner. Be very careful. When he says loan money, he's not talking about loans. He's talking about here, you can see it more in the balance sheet. In the balance sheet, you will find loans, but you will also find investment. You find assets and liabilities. This, in my understanding, this is loan money. This is not loans only. And then he talks about gift money, which is an economic concept. It has nothing to do with donations, or rather, it's not a synonym for donations. And if you track how a donation works, it never appears up here. A donation is when I write a check from my balance sheet, and if I was to make the same drawing over here, when I give you $1,000, my capital account goes down, as does my cash account. The money leaves my world, appears in your world as an increase in capital and an increase in cash. It doesn't go through here. So, so it's very important that when I say purchase money is here, this is a no-brainer. This is the easiest one. For me, loan money is linked to the balance sheet and is not synonymous with loans. We will see that when we look at loans and investment. And what he calls gift money is pointing to this balancing factor, that through so-called gift money, the excess capital in my world can be moved into your world. And it will appear first on your balance sheet. It can stay there if you buy a new house, if you leave it in the bank. But if you increase your revenue, if you're a school, for example, and you pay teachers more, you will expend it from your balance sheet and it's gone through your trade accounts. But that's up to you. The first form it will be is loan money. It'll be on your balance sheet. So that for me is a kind of pause point. By this whole journey that I've been trying to describe, I've left this to the very, very end because I want one to get a sense that already in the world, all these things I'm describing already there before Steiner ever said anything. And so it's not going to be, I don't think, he's not going to say something which contradicts what's already in the world. This is not what he does. He may be nuancing what's in the world, that I get. And so if I now put purchase money, loan money, gift money on this drawing, I've got Steiner's concepts. We can have a discussion about, so what's the difference? What's the nuance? But for most people I know who know his work, they don't get what I just did. They don't get that gift money is up there, that loan money is not loans, that gift money is not donations. They don't get this. So, but for me, that's the only way I understand how you can put his contribution into the actual history of mankind, where it also can get traction. If this is how the world is, and you create some other image of what three kinds of money look like, you have a problem. You'll never get any traction in the world.